been heading up the office since last April. And really, the office was started in 2009 already. So we have quite a history here at American University of Sharjah, integrating sustainability into the campus environment. But it really was in 2018 when we first embraced the STARS framework from ASHI, the Association for the Advancement of Sustainability in Higher Education. I'm not sure you're familiar with this, but this is a big US-based organization that helps to advance sustainability in higher education. And they have the STARS framework that is the sustainability tracking, ranking, and assessment reporting tool. And it really helps us, first of all, define what sustainability in higher education means. Secondly, track our own progress over the years. So we do this rating every 3 years and have been progressing from bronze to silver, and we're just about to submit our submission again and hope to get gold this time. And lastly, it helps us to benchmark our performance with other institutions worldwide. And really, what STARS stands for is this whole institution approach. So we don't work in isolation. We integrate with all aspects of the university and with all stakeholders at the university. So at the center, of course, are the students. And we really want them to graduate from AUS with a holistic understanding of sustainability. And what does that mean? It means, on the one hand, to really understand all aspects of sustainability, so both the environmental and the social aspects. And that's very well represented in our key priorities. So we don't just focus on waste and recycling. We have a big focus also on climate action and low carbon campus. But likewise, we want to educate them on the importance of nutrition and health and well-being, both for themselves and the planet. Excuse me. And lastly, the social dimension of diversity, tolerance, and community service. So all these aspects are equally important. And then when I say holistic, I also mean that we want to reach the students through various touch points in their time at AUS. So from student orientation to engagement in the classroom. So we work with professors to integrate sustainability into the classroom, but also the extracurricular activities like student clubs or the EcoRep program that we have, which is a peer-to-peer leadership program for sustainability on campus. And the experience in the residence halls is equally important. So last semester, for the first time, we launched a green living and learning community that really aimed to get them more exposure to the UN SDGs. And really take it all the way to their internships, help them find internships with sustainable focused companies, and also not to forget the online engagement with them through social media. So really have this very holistic experience with sustainability. And to do this authentically, it's equally important to look at AUS as an institution and make sure that we operate in the most sustainable way. So we've launched a climate action plan in 2022 and are now working towards a net zero target by 2050, which right now is still a target. So we're still in the process of baselining our emissions. But I think it's really important to walk the talk and not just talk about sustainability, but also demonstrate sustainable leadership as an institution.
Thank you, Julia. Appreciate that. That was great summary. And Julia, I know you do so much, so thank you so much for all you've been doing. So I'm sure we might have some more follow-up questions. Jahnavi, could you shed light on what initially sparked your interest in climate action and led you to ultimately be a co-lead for COI 18?
Yes, absolutely. Thank you, Dr. Lisa. Hello, everyone. My name is Jahnavi, and I was a student at AUS. I graduated last semester, so proud alumni. I had the privilege of working with Miss Julia for a year and a half while I was an eco-rep as part of the AUS sustainability program. So that was a significant part of my journey. across my 4 years in university. But I think my interest in sustainability started from when I was young. So I've always been a vegetarian. Give me one second. Sorry, I'm having some issues, so I need to relocate. Give me 1 minute and I'll log back in, if that's okay.
Sure, Genevieve. Okay,
Thank you.
no problem. Julia, maybe we'll start and just let's think about what specifically. So as you said, there's a rich history of AUS with the Sustainability Office, but what happened during COP28 that drew us in even further into the conversation around the university? Maybe you talk about the UCN, the University College Network.
Sure. So just to give some context, the UAE is not a very big country. So there's about 9 million people here in the UAE. And the fact that the UAE hosted this World UN Climate Change Conference here in the UAE just meant we automatically, if we want to, we have a lot of exposure with this conference. So I think that's a very privileged situation to start with. And the goal was really to get as many students and faculty involved as possible, especially because this was the first time that the UN Climate Change Conference had a specific focus on education and a dedicated area within the COP28 just for climate education. So as a university, there was really an opportunity to engage actively. And we had various panels in the Greening Education Hub, that's what the location was called, and tried to involve as many students on panels and not to forget what Jahnavi is going to talk about more, the Conference of Youth, which is the youth equivalent to the Climate Change Conference. It's hosted by Yango, a UN constituency, and really aims to get the youth voices involved in the climate action process. So we were one of the co-hosts as an institution led by Jahnavi, and it was just really once in a lifetime amazing experience to be so involved in this global process and really experience it firsthand.
Thank you so much, Julia. Genevieve, everything good now? Think you're ready? Okay, tell us more about your journey and what sparked your interest.
So yes, I was a vegetarian, and I think it all stemmed from there, kindness towards animals. And then when I transitioned on to university, I remember the first semester I had on campus before COVID hit. And I remember seeing the green logos as part of my orientation everywhere. They were on my bottles, they were on my bags. And I think it was a new concept because the Office of Sustainability was becoming more involved with the students just then. So I remember thinking that this is something that I do want to be part of. So it all started off there. And then the first step that I took concretely was to engage myself as part of the sustainability club. So there were a few events that I planned as a sophomore in my first and second year, understood how it works on campus, what students are interested in. And then in my third year, I remember giving my online interview for the EcoRep program. I was so nervous. And I remember Miss Julia and Miss Rose asking me very, very difficult questions, some of which I couldn't even answer. But then after getting selected and also learning from them, learning tons from them, I think I transformed as a person. I was able to do so much for the environment. And there was so much I gained across that 1 year as an eco-rep, where I became part of the Office of Sustainability. From farmers markets to spontaneous competitions to everyday university events, there was a lot that I learned across the journey and a lot that I gained. Um, I know that my biggest takeaways were organization, uh, discussing everything beforehand through proper communication so that it in the end is successful, and realizing that any kind of impact is still an impact. These were some things that I took away from my journey, and seeing the progress that we were able to make despite COVID to create awareness was something that made me really happy, and it enhanced the interest of students to take sustainability forward. So these were some of my biggest takeaways. And then my EcoRep journey ended there. But I think I was too attached to the office. So I was like, no, I don't want to let go. And it was always nice seeing a smile on students' faces, especially when we could convey some kind of sustainability related information. So I decided to uh, meet Miss Rose and ask her if there were any opportunities. And in my final year, in my first semester, the Higher Education Climate Dialogues Conference, which takes place annually, was something that she told me about. And then there were emails and opportunities that she got, and she was like, why don't we add this to the conference and that to the conference? And planning that whole day out with engaging activities, especially because it was just a few months away from COP28, was a huge learning curve for me because it was the first time I was leading something ever. And so managing a team while ensuring that the conference is actually sustainable was something that I had to juggle with. And time management was definitely one of my key takeaways because I was also a full-time student. So communication, time management, and ensuring that the conference was sustainable through its meals or the topics of engagement or the people that we called as guest speakers and how we call them. These were all part of my learning. And then I think my final culmination was at COI 18. So this was again a huge learning curve because while it was exhausting and overwhelming, it was a worldwide platform, and people that I worked with were not just university students. They were full-time employees or working in the United Nations or much older people that were interested in making a difference for the youth. So from ensuring that the global youth statement is inclusive to uh, creating the website and ensuring that all the information is on it. These were challenges and also learnings that I faced that I took away from across this journey. So yeah, this is what it's been. And I think middle spots across this journey have always been motivation from Miss Rose, Dr. Lisa, Miss Julia, Dr. Jeanette. So these were all people that were part of my AUS journey that were so motivated about climate change despite being so much older that it made me happy, taught me so much, and gave me new avenues to learn from. So I remember before my internship, I went knocking on Dr. Jeanette's door saying that I want an internship related to sustainability. And she was like, sure, let me get you in touch with some of the contacts I know. So these were small things that happened across the way that shaped me as a person and my solidified my interest in sustainability for a lifetime, but also career wise as well.
Thank you so much, Genevieve. Thank you, Riching, to hear your share your experience and hear more about it. Let's see, Maryam, are you ready to?
Hi, Lisa. I actually need around 5 minutes, but if you want me to start, I can, and then maybe when I get settled, or if you want to ask Genevieve some question, whatever you find comfortable.
Sure. Let me see if any of our guests, if they have any questions for Genevieve at this point. Anyone? Maryam, this is a special day in UAE today. It's raining, and when it rains, we're not always prepared. So thank you for your patience. And Maryam is trying to get into a location where she can talk with you all. We weren't expecting the rain. So, and when it rains in UAE, we have trouble getting around. I'm not there right now, so I don't I don't exactly feel it, but okay. Anyone? Okay.
Yeah.
Yes, go. Maryam, do you ready or you had something?
I just wanted to apologize, but was someone about to say something?
I was just going to ask a question. I'll ask a question of Jahnavi. Okay, great. Jahnavi, tell me a little bit more, if you can define what COI is for the audience, exactly what it is and how does it connect to COP28 and the education that happens.
Absolutely. Okay, so COI18 is an annual event that happens before COP28, specifically focusing on the youth. And it is organized by Youngo, and they usually select 2 to 3 co-hosts every year. So AUS had the privilege of becoming a co-host. Applying for this was also a process that started off with HECD, so Higher Education Climate Dialogues, a speaker that came in and said that, hey, why don't you as a team apply for COI18? It might work out. So that's how I ended up applying for it. And I went into it without knowing what it was at all. I learned everything along the way. And it's more of a networking, action planning and gathering event that brings people between the ages of 18 to 35 together and ensures that their voices are captured within the Global Youth Statement. So the biggest output of COI is the Global Youth Statement, and it covers the different themes that have been designed for that year's COP, and ensures that it covers voices from across the countries. And what fuels the Global Youth Statement is actually the individual COIs or conferences of youth that happen in regional areas. So COI18 is the global version, but over the year, before the actual annual conference of parties or COP or COI18, there are regional COIs or regional conferences of youth, as well as local conferences of youth. So these bring together people from within the country to come and discuss their opinions and their problems, which then ultimately fuels the Global Youth Statement and the voices and the discussions that we have on a global level. So I was part of the Global Conference of Youth, which took place at Expo 2020, right before the Conference of Parties. And once this Global Youth Statement is ready, it's handed over to the UNFCCC team to read and to understand what the demands of the youth are, because we are the next generation that will be using the planet and its resources. So as sustainably as they can leave it for us, and as sustainably we can leave it for the next generation, is the purpose of the discussions at COI.
Thank you. That's great. And I can already see your passion. It's hard to describe what happens to people when they come back, but I've witnessed it even a few times, even for COP27 when we had people there. So thank you for sharing that, Jahnavi. Maryam, are you somewhere yet?
Yes, I'll turn my camera in 2
Thank
seconds.
you. Okay, great. Let me just. And Maryam, your question that I have for you is, could you please share with us your journey into the recycling field and how various university activities influenced your path? Of course, you didn't graduate from AUS, you graduated from AUD, so you could share a little bit about that as well. Maryam? You're muted right now.
Sorry, how about now? Oh, Lisa, you're muted. Sorry.
Nope, you're perfect. You're good, Maryam. You could just show your camera because there you are. Lovely. Okay,
Hi,
we're started.
everyone.
Thank you.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I was supposed to be stable 20 minutes ago, but as Lisa mentioned and Julia and Jahnavi probably know, when it rains in the UAE, all schedules get ruined. So answering Lisa's question, yes, I did graduate from the American University in Dubai. I graduated with a degree in finance. But from an educational perspective, what I enjoy doing the most during my years in school, high school, and university is that I always found the time to work and intern. So I would volunteer at offices, whether it's government offices or certain small private volunteering opportunities, just to get into the workforce and understand how businesses work, how governments work, how policies get set. And so I was always curious. I got into the environment and sustainability field with my love for elephants. I'm actually wearing one of my favorite elephant bracelets right now. And, you know, you can only imagine someone that loves elephants or animals in general, pollution has a huge impact on them. And while I was working for the Cabinet of Ministers, it was 2020, and I was reading all of these sustainability reports and how companies are claiming that they cannot meet their commitments. And I was like, how come, especially in plastics recycling? Like, there's plastics everywhere. How are you guys, why are you throwing it in our environment and not actually recycling it and repurposing it into your finished product again? And it started from there, which led me to setting up a company called Rebound, which I had today. I must say I was very fortunate and lucky to have got it through a very large investor that we have here in the region. And it took around 8 months to find someone that was actually interested, but it worked out. And today, what I do mainly is focusing on monetizing the value chain of recycled plastics around the world. And as I'm speaking to you, I just saw someone throw some plastic bottles in the recycling can, which means that it's working. But yeah, education plays a very big role in everything that we do. And I hope universities and teachers and professors realize the impact that they have on students, because at the end of the day, students look up to them. It's not about how much I scored on an exam or a project. It's more of how can that professor help me just build my career, because university is just for a short amount of time, but the career is a lifetime. And I'm very fortunate to have studied at a university that taught me the value of work and internships.
Oh, wonderful. Thank you so much, Maryam. Could you tell me a little bit about, I started with saying that one of the key connections of all of us on this video is COP28. Could you tell us a little bit about what COP28 was for you and how your experience and what you were possibly doing there and taking away?
Of course. So with COP28, again, because we are a very unique business in the UAE, we had the opportunity of being called in for panel discussions, for presentations that had to do with the circular economy. So it was speaking to different types of audiences. We got to push out the message about trade and reverse supply chains. And so COP28 was a very good opportunity for Rebound. We got a lot of exposure, and for myself. But I think, as Jahnavi was mentioning, it was just very nice to be part of a global event that takes place in your home country and contributing to the conversations around it and meeting all of the international communities that maybe if you do not, and this is what COP28 taught myself too, is that if you don't agree with someone, you need to agree to see what their viewpoint is about the world and life. And this is a very important point in climate change. What we consider important factors of climate change in this region might not be the same in others.
Very, very good points. Thank you. And I know one of the things Julia could speak to too was making sure there was a lot of voices of the youth. That was a priority for the University College Network, is having people and youth from different parts of the world be represented. So thank you for that. I think that's important. Julia, did you want to add anything maybe as you're thinking? Otherwise, I'll go to a next question. I know you just always have some great thoughts.
Yeah, Don't tempt me. I can talk about sustainability forever, but I just wanted to highlight, I believe, Jahnavi, you're also a finance major, right? Is that correct? Yes, that both Maryam and Jahnavi did not study environmental science or sustainability. And this is really something that's very close to my heart, that we help students understand that no matter what they study and what they major in, they can play a part and they can constructively contribute to sustainability and climate change. We really need all disciplines. We need everyone on board, and everybody has a role to play. And the happiest moment is when I see a student has found their why and they have a direction and like a path that they want to follow, that they're passionate about. And it's so great to see that with Jahnavi and many other students, and it's so fulfilling.
Yes, thank you. Absolutely. And let me just make sure that did you have a question or you just, I'll mute you. Okay, great. Thank you. So does anyone have a question as we start? You're welcome to add it in chat or anything, but I'll go on for another question because Julia, you led me to something that I think is really key too. As we're educators and as we are really trying to figure out how to teach, whether it's in the classroom or outside the classroom, I would love to hear from either Maryam or Jahnavi. What are the factors or resources that were essential? I know Maryam mentioned faculty and how important it was for them to be engaged with students and understand how important they are. But what was it that maybe nurtured your interest? I know you guys also both mentioned animals. So what other things maybe that got you interested in environmental activism? Anyone else have anything to share in your university experience?
I could go. So when
Okay.
I was writing my thesis, I was sure I wanted to do it. Most of my research papers that I wrote while I was at university were related to the environment, which made me realize that you don't need to be an environmental science student to share your thoughts or do some research on the environment. Yes, there are technical aspects. For example, chemistry is a big part of the environment, but also finance, because that's where the money is. And a lot of the green projects can only be financed um, the right way if you have expertise in that field. So, yes, faculty is definitely very important. I couldn't have written my thesis, which was on the EU framework regarding green bonds, without my economics professor's help. But I feel like it it's more about the freedom as well as incorporating and ensuring that the curriculum is as relevant as possible. So I remember when I was part of my labor economics class, my professor had brought in a lot of articles and given us to read regarding fair trade and ethical manufacturing of goods, which is a big part of sustainability in the SDGs as well. So ensuring that, and he used these articles to actually explain labor economics concepts and economics graphs in the end. So uh, things like this, which were integrated within the curriculum, examples of sustainability that were used to explain economic concepts, I think that was one of the biggest reasons I ended up doing my thesis in the environment area as well, because I realized that yes, it's possible. So yeah, curriculum and making sure it's relevant plays a large role, in my opinion.
Yeah, thank you so much, Genevieve, on how those little case studies of those things were brought into the classroom. Thank you for that. Maryam, do you have anything to add, any factors or things you'd like to share that really made a difference in you being interested in environmental activism?
I think it's the projects or certain papers that we get asked to write, or we were trying to do in our marketing class.
proposal for a new product within an existing company. And I was lucky to have partnered up with a friend whose family owns a macaroni factory here in the UAE. So basically pasta, but the small shelled one, which we call macaroni. And we were doing this, and during just building out the marketing, we're like, oh, why don't we make it a sustainable packaged product? And so I started delving in more about that. And then I remember I participated in a food security challenge for the government and got to learn more about food security and health issues and food and water, so scarcity. And one thing led to the other, I think. And all of a sudden, I found myself studying about value chains and recycled materials and what's happening around the world. So, so I do hope that it's been a few years since I graduated from university. But I do hope that today in the classroom, when we talk about finance, marketing, architecture, we do bring in the sustainability aspect to it. And sustainability, as Ms. Julia said, is not about recycling only. It's about how can I sustain my current lifestyle in a more efficient way, but also just elevate from there without using any more resources. How do I buy the right clothes without producing textile waste? How do I shop for enough groceries without producing food waste, or at least composting it at home? So all of these questions, I hope that the university students today get to talk about it amongst themselves.
Yeah, thank you so much, Maryam.
Lisa, if I could just add to that
Please.
question, maybe something I've just observed also listening to you, but also in my work. I think it's really important to give students an opportunity to feel empowered and really be a leader. And whether that's through a research project like you just described, Maryam, or whether it's organizing an extracurricular activity like the higher education climate dialogues, it's really important to use that time at university to build those leadership skills and really let students take the lead on the outcome and how to get there. It really shapes so many skills, values, and beliefs that are going to be so important later on.
Oh, thank you, Julia. I think you're exactly right. Those opportunities and those things need to be in place everywhere at a university, like you mentioned, the holistic, going back to your comment about the holistic view of looking at sustainability and specifically climate action. We have a question. So Ria Gagnon, in De La Salle University, one of our huge partners that works with IASIS a lot. Can you please, she wanted to know, how could we encourage our students to organize student-led campaigns and promoting sustainability on campus? Maybe I'll start with Jahnavi, since you led a huge student-led program, you've had a couple, but how can we encourage other students to do this?
I think okay, so I would say Miss Julia is more fit to answer this question than me. But if I was to say something, my learning across this time has been that you don't even need to be interested in sustainability to contribute to it. If you just see it as an opportunity to get out there and meet a few people, because everyone is talking about sustainability right now. It's the greatest way to showcase your skills in the world, because when I was leading HECD, most of my team had people that were skilled in, for example, making social media posts or logistics. They weren't experts in sustainability at all. But if you have one person that has those values and wants to drive a confidence in that direction, then that's more than enough. And then everyone else within the team, if you want to find ways to engage students, it's probably portraying opportunities where their skill sets can be showcased, and opportunities to meet people can be, what is enticing, rather than it being all about green and leaves and things like that, because I feel like sustainability is so much more than that, and it needs to be integrated in every part of what we do now.
Thank you. Maryam, do you have any thoughts?
Yes, in terms of encouraging students, I think just allowing them, putting out the idea, and then just helping guide them on setting the objectives of campaigning for a specific topic, whether it's sustainability or something else, and letting them flourish and do things on their own. That would be very impactful and helpful. Sometimes they just need to know that there is a specific expectation from them to represent a certain topic, and then they would amaze you with their.
Okay, thank you so much, Maryam. Julia, do you have some thoughts?
Well, I couldn't agree more with Jahnavi and Maryam, but one thing I'd like to add is, and this is something I've learned in a course that I recently took, it's really important to find the right messenger. So I think this is what we're trying to do with our EcoRep program here at AUS, where we hire these student peer leaders to lead the student activities at AUS with relationship to sustainability. But it's really important to locate and identify those students that can be very charismatic, influential messengers for the message you want to send, and then inspire other students to follow along. So identifying a few peer leaders for sustainability in your institution, and then give them the freedom to do whatever activity they want to do. Really, it doesn't matter. In the end, should it be on social media? Should it be something related to recycling? Should it be a field trip? Should it be a guest speaker? Should it be a competition? In the end, it doesn't matter. It matters that they are passionate about it and they want to do something. So finding the right people and having the right messengers is really important.
Thank you so much. So it sounds like, yeah, thank you, Ria. So it sounds like some of the similar things is just trying to get more students engaged that we try to do so much as student involvement, student engage, and use peers and use students, use the right voices, find things that they're interested in, their opportunities. So absolutely. Thank you. Anyone else have another question? Okay. So what I wanted to ask, maybe everyone could just share just one, if you could share one reason, I know this is difficult, of why we in higher education and our work in education should be about climate literacy. Why? One thing, what you're passionate about. Well, I probably might go back to what you guys started with, but let's hear from Maryam first. One thing on why you're so passionate.
Because the world needs more people to know about what climate change really is. We don't want it to be just like global warming, when people debunked the whole term of global warming and what is the ozone layer. So I think it's a need, and there needs to be attention to help it scale, or else we're all in trouble.
Okay, thank you. Julia?
So I found that over the last few years, there has been a lot of awareness about climate change, which is always the first step. And now we have a good understanding what we need to do or what we shouldn't be doing, but we don't really know how to get there. And I feel higher education can be that answer and can prepare those answers. Like, we need innovation, we need new ideas, we need to think outside the box. And that's where I see higher education as the critical player to really define that path to decarbonization and climate mitigation and adaptation. But yes, I'll stop right here.
Yeah, I like it. Thank you, Julia. Thank you so much. Jahnavi?
Very similar to Miss Julia, I feel like our generation, in order to feel responsible because we are just entering our careers, higher education plays a big role in shaping the way we think about things. So ensuring that sustainability is part of every decision we make is where higher education could play a big role. And we are responsible for our actions. The world, we cannot do all the good that the world needs, but we can do all the good that, no, sorry, we can do all the good that we can do for the world. I messed up the quote, but it's something like that.
It sounds great. Thank you so much. Well, I would like to, at this point, go ahead and end our conversation. I want to thank you again for everyone being here. I realized I didn't mention this. The International Association of Student Affairs and Student Services is committed to education around the Sustainable Development Goals. And this is just one avenue and one webinar that we are putting on. But we couldn't do without the help of our panelists and sharing their passion, sharing the opportunities in the work we do to specifically for this conversation around and climate action and climate literacy. So thank you so much. I'm glad you were with us. Have a wonderful day, wherever you are, evening, morning. And thank you again, Maryam, Julia, and Jahnavi.
Of course. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Dr. Lisa.
Good to
Pleasure
see you,
speaking to
Jahnavi.
you
We'll
all.
stay in touch. Bye, Julia. We'll
Thank you.
talk.
Yes, thank you.
Bye-bye.
Thanks for everyone for
Bye.
joining.
Thank you, everyone. Bye-bye.
Okay, let's see. Hi, Julia. Thanks for staying on. And Miriam's joining us, and I feel bad. Miriam? Okay,
I'll log off now. Yes.
sounds good. Thank you so much. Bye, Julia.
Thank
We'll
you.
talk. Let me know
Yes.
what happens this week with the global.
I'll keep you posted.
Okay, bye.